Every day that passes, China loses thousands of restaurants before most people even notice. A noodle shop closes behind a half-pulled shutter. A hot pot restaurant sells its copper pots by weight. A bakery that once smelled of warm bread becomes another empty glass box inside a dying mall. And the strange part is this: China's catering market is not officially collapsing. On paper, it is still growing. The numbers still look alive. The lights are still on. But under those bright red signs, many restaurants are already fighting for oxygen. Why are so many dining rooms suddenly empty in a country famous for eating together, sharing dishes, and turning food into social language? The answer is not simply that Chinese consumers have become poor. It is more disturbing than that. Many still have money, but they are holding it tighter than before. They are not refusing food. They are refusing the old price, the old risk, and the old illusion that tomorrow will always be better. In 2024, almost 3 million catering companies were dissolved nationwide. In the first half of 2025 alone, industry reports described more than 1.6 million store closures. So the question is this: are we watching a temporary cleanout or the permanent reshaping of China's dining culture? There is a brutal paradox at the heart of this story. China's restaurant revenue reached nearly 5.8 trillion yuan in 2025, still higher than the year before. To an outsider, that sounds like health, but to the owners standing behind the counter, it can feel like a fever. The whole body is hot, but the organs are failing. The market grows because there are more players, more discounts, more delivery orders, and more desperate attempts to stay visible. But growth in revenue does not mean growth in profit. Sometimes it means everyone is running faster on a machine that is slowly burning their legs. Look at the life of a modern Chinese restaurant. Analysts have said the average restaurant in China survives only around 500 days. In Beijing, some operators describe a life expectancy closer to 1 year. Imagine investing your family savings, borrowing from relatives, signing a rent contract, renovating the kitchen, hiring staff, buying supplies, and then discovering that your dream has the lifespan of a seasonal trend. Is this entrepreneurship, or is it a lottery where the ticket is bought with someone's entire life? The first silent killer is consumer caution. After years of property pressure, job anxiety, and weak confidence, dining out has changed from a habit into a calculation. A young office worker who once ordered barbecue without thinking now compares coupons for 15 minutes. A family that once celebrated birthdays in private rooms now asks whether cooking at home is safer for the budget. The stomach may still want pleasure, but the mind hears the echo of mortgage payments, layoffs, and unfinished apartments. This is not a loud boycott. No one announces it. It happens quietly, one skipped meal at a time. And when customers become cautious, restaurants panic. When restaurants panic, they cut prices. When everyone cuts prices together, the whole street becomes a battlefield. Welcome to China's Great Catering Price War. Coffees at 9.9 yuan. 4-person meal sets at 99 yuan. Hot pot, noodles, dumplings, fried chicken, milk tea. Everything begins to compete, not through taste, but through surrender. Owners are no longer asking, "How can I make this meal memorable?" They are asking, "How little can I charge before I die?" This is the cruel logic of involution. Everyone works harder, discounts deeper, opens longer, posts more videos, joins more apps, and yet nobody truly escapes. A restaurant lowers a bowl of noodles from 28 yuan to 19 yuan. The restaurant next door lowers it to 16 yuan. A chain brand sells a combo that no independent shop can match because its supply chain is bigger, its rent negotiation is stronger, and its kitchen has already been standardized like a factory. The customer wins today, but tomorrow, when the independent shop disappears, what exactly has the customer won? The used kitchen equipment market has become an unofficial graveyard of failed dreams. In Beijing, one recycler described dismantling hundreds of restaurants every month as closures surged. Ovens, freezers, woks, tables, chairs, display counters. All the objects that once represented a new beginning are stacked together like evidence from a crime scene. Behind every stainless steel counter is a story. Someone believed the reopening after the pandemic would bring a golden rebound. Instead, they walked into a market where every competitor was bleeding and still smiling. But the restaurants are not only fighting each other, they are fighting the platforms in every customer's pocket. Delivery apps promise traffic, convenience, and survival. For some restaurants, they truly helped. But for many small owners, the app became both a lifeline and a leash. If you are not visible on the platform, you disappear. If you are visible, you pay commissions, join discounts, compete in rankings, and hand over part of your relationship with the customer to an algorithm. The dining room becomes less important than the thumbnail. The chef becomes less powerful than the coupon. Then, JD.com entered food delivery with commission-free promises, while Meituan and Alibaba's L.me defended their territory. What followed was not a peaceful innovation story. It became a subsidy war so intense that even the giants started bleeding. Cheap delivery can look like a gift to consumers, but ask yourself, who is really paying for a meal that arrives too cheaply to make sense? The platform pays first. The restaurant pays next. The courier pays with speed and pressure. And eventually, the consumer pays. Through lower quality, fewer real choices, and the disappearance of the local shop that knew their name. This is how a society moves from eating together to transacting alone. A restaurant used to be a public room. You heard the clatter of plates, the argument at the next table, the owner shouting toward the kitchen, the small theater of daily life. Now the meal arrives in a plastic bag, optimized by route, sealed by tape, and eaten beside a screen. Efficient? Absolutely. But what disappears inside that efficiency? A city cannot build memory from delivery bags alone. Inside the kitchen, another problem is growing. To survive, restaurants simplify. Menus shrink. Ingredients get cheaper. Sauces become standardized. Central kitchens prepare food that is reheated in smaller stores. Chain brands expand because they can control every gram, every supplier, every second of labor. This is not always bad. Standardization can make food safer and cheaper. But when every street begins to taste like the same supply chain, the soul of local cooking becomes harder to find. We may still be eating, but are we still discovering? And here comes the most painful part. The middle is being erased. At the top, luxury restaurants can still survive by selling status, privacy, and spectacle. At the bottom, ultra-cheap chains and snack stores survive by selling speed and price. But the middle, the ordinary family restaurant, the 100 yuan per person place, the small bistro trying to offer decent ingredients and human service, is trapped like a fish between two nets. It is not fancy enough for the rich and not cheap enough for the anxious. So it vanishes. This is why China's restaurant crisis is not simply a story about closures. It is a story about polarization. Large chains gain share because they have technology, capital, data, and purchasing power. Small restaurants carry rent, uncertainty, and the emotional burden of being human-sized businesses in a machine-sized economy. One side can survive on thin margins because it has thousands of stores. The other side dies because one slow month is enough to break the spine. You can see this in malls across major cities. The first floor still glows. The signs still promise spicy fish, barbecue, milk tea, and Japanese-style set meals. But walk carefully and you notice the same pattern. New brands arrive quickly. They decorate beautifully. They flood social media. They offer opening discounts. Then, after a few months, the queue disappears. The discount deepens. The staff changes. The shutters come down. A new brand appears in the same space, repeating the cycle like a restaurant reincarnation machine. So what is the way out? Some owners will automate. Some will use AI to predict demand, reduce waste, manage inventory, and design menus based on platform data. Some will become delivery-only kitchens. Some will join franchises because independence has become too dangerous. And some will leave the industry entirely, carrying with them recipes, regional skills, and the quiet pride of feeding people face to face.